staged a draw, and based on that, we have the following roll call. Today, my team of guests will be breaking down the Africa Cup of Nations draw and all the matters arising. I'm very sure that yesterday you were here with us on the radio as all members of the Joy Sports team gave you their verdicts and their opinions on various matters, especially that of former Black Stars coach Kwesi Appiah, who now is in the saddle for Sudan and has done pretty well when it comes to the World Cup qualifiers so far. Now he has the task of playing in the same group with the Black Stars of Ghana. Well, yesterday, the guests here in the studio discussed at length where they stand regarding the very thorny issue of possible conflict of interest on the part of Coach Kwesi Appiah, who's serving as an executive council member of the Ghana Football Association, while serving as coach of Niger. Sorry, coach of Sudan. What we're going to do today is to take a close look at each group from A to L. A to L, so that we understand the groups better. We get to know what these seeded teams in each group are going up against and what it possibly is going to look like at the end of the day when qualification is certain. Today on this very rich panel is a former communications director of the Ghana Football Association, an award-winning BBC journalist, a sports media entrepreneur, and who's currently serving as a media officer for the Confederation of African Football, has taken responsibility for a lot in terms of the operation of many of the endeavors of the Confederation of African Football. He's been following the game from close range and from a distance as well, and has varied thoughts as well. Sadiq Adams, also known as Obama, will be joining us from a distance from somewhere in the eastern region. Sadiq Adams is a former Swag Sports Journalist of the Year and is the head of Angel Sport. Also has many thoughts regarding how this upcoming Africa Cup of Nations is going to go. All of the thoughts that have been expressed so far, the reactions that have come from the coaches and all of that. And we're going to put all of those conversations in massive perspective here on the Joy Sports link. Us later on this afternoon will be Mr. Morris Kwanzaa. Mr. Morris Kwanzaa is the editor of the Graphic Sports and also is an immediate past vice president of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana. Also joining us later on will be Mr. Jeffrey Asare, a seasoned pundit who is also a director of Primeval Media, who are bringing us the Democracy Cup. We'll be talking about the Democracy Cup later on. I'm sure you've seen some images of President Akufo-Addo and the Speaker of Parliament holding a trophy. Well, the Democracy Cup is what we're discussing later on. Also, Mr. Larry Otto, who is the CEO of Primeval Media, who have brought us various special cup competitions to spice up the domestic football calendar. So all of these and more are here on the Joy Sports link as we break down the 2025 AFCON qualification draw in terms of the groups from Group A to Group L. In Group A, we've got Tunisia, Madagascar, Comoros, and the Gambia. And just before I go to Group B, there's something very interesting. I met a retired civil servant in the Gambia. Of course, he's Gambian. And he engaged me in a conversation about doing a lot of work in Ghana in the 70s. I mean, he specifically mentioned, key places, including, the Holy Trinity Cathedral on the High Street. And he also mentioned meeting the Right Reverend Dr. Ofe Akrofi, who is the past Archbishop of the province of West Africa of the Anglican Church. And then he went ahead to tell me, and this meeting was in 2007. He said to me that since he returned to his native Gambia, he hadn't watched any football match, on the local scene there. Why? Because he said, Nathaniel, because I met great players like Mohamed Polo. And honestly speaking, I do not think that anybody here is up to that standard. So I haven't watched any football. I haven't been to the stadium since I returned from service in Ghana. So just in case you're thinking of Ghana's quality and our strength in football of the African continent, the words of this retired Gambian civil servant are many. There's a lot to think about. But of course, they say, as they always say, the tide has turned. And of course, the situations have changed. And if you go thinking that Gambia is, a less branded and a less rated team when it comes to pedigree in football, then you may be, doing some wrong analysis. Now in Group B are the hosts Morocco, Gabon, Central African Republic, and Lesotho. Also in Group C, there's Cape Verde, there's Egypt, the most achieved side on the African, on the platform of the Africa Cup of Nations. There's Mauritania, and there's also Botswana. In Group D, there is Nigeria, there's Benin, Libya, and Rwanda. And then in Group E, there's Algeria, Equatorial Guinea, Togo, and Liberia. And then the group of interest, Group F, Ghana, Angola, Sudan, and Niger. The defending champions Ivory Coast are there with 2012 champions Zambia, Sierra Leone, and Chad in Group G. And in Group H, there is DR Congo, Guinea, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. As DR Congo, Guinea, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. Group I has Mali, Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, and Eswatini. And then, of course, Group J has the second highest rated side in the Africa Cup of Nations in terms of achievements. I'm talking about Cameroon, we've got Namibia, we've got Kenya, and we've got Zimbabwe. 1996 champion South Africa are in Group K alongside Uganda, Congo, and South Sudan. Then we have in Group L, winners of the last two editions, Senegal, Burkina Faso, Malawi, and Burundi. So Groups A to L have different stories to tell all of us. But of course, the main focus will be that of Group F, which has Ghana, Angola, Sudan, and Niger. In a minute or two, we get into the conversations. We'll be doing a bit of Formula One as well to start it all off. Well, the British Grand Prix coming up. And after all the drama last weekend, well, we're just hoping that no fights. I mean, there are very interesting fights. There are proverbial fights on the tracks. But hopefully, we're going to have a race that has not too many distractions. This is the Joy Sports Link here on Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Nathaniel Attoh. Getting to my guests very shortly, so we get into the conversation about the Black Stars navigating this qualification series for the next Africa Cup of Nations to be hosted by Morocco. Sports Link on Joy 99.7 FM. A bit of a reggae touch to start it all off, bringing relevance to the conversation. Buju Banton telling us that it sure is not going to be an easy road. Ibrahim Sani Dara is already here with me in the studio. Ibrahim, good to see you. Good to see you. It's been a while. Yes, not really. We met at the Football Awards last weekend. You presented an award.
You are right.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Nat.
Yeah. And before that, I'd seen you on television trying to nudge Coach Laie Kingston for not telling him that, Charlie, my guy, you have to relax. You know, this is Ghana we're talking about, so you relax and, you know, yeah.
He has to relax.
Yeah.
I hope he's fine. I hope he'll recover. And I know he has a lot to offer this country and football in this country. Even if he's not with the national under 17 team, I think Laie can offer a lot more to clubs locally. There are lots of burgeoning academies he can offer his services to, and a lot more. Even on television, he can offer his expertise as a football analyst. It's welcome. He's got a lot more opportunities he can explore, particularly given what his players demonstrated at the under 17 level that we've not seen in a very long time. So I'm sure he has a lot to offer this country.
Well, let's see how things go. And the Football Awards came off last weekend. We were a major partner. Kudus Mohammed picked it up again.
I was not surprised, and I know for many years to come, Kudus is going to be a key player for Ghana. He's going to be a key player for Africa. Let's see what happens. I think he leaves tonight for Europe after his holidays. Yesterday he had an open event for his folks at Nima. Very nice. I also want to see, apart from Kudus, I want to see the other youngsters to come through. I'm taking a lot of inspiration from what I'm seeing at the Euros. I'm seeing a lot of young players showing the world that, you know, when given the opportunity, young people can also deliver. Lamine Yamal inspires a lot of people. We've also seen what the other young players like Nico Williams and the rest can do. And I'm really inspired by what I've seen of them. And I think that from that and from Ghana's perspective, we've also got a lot of young players who can deliver maybe even better than what we've seen of Nico Williams and Yamal. It's only a matter of having belief and confidence in them that they can deliver. There are a few players I can name. I think there's Prince Amako Jr. I think he will sign to Norgeland soon. There's Arafat Mohammed. I think he will be explosive. There's Ibrahim Osman. Let's see what he can do with Brighton this year. And a few other young players that are coming through.
I'm excited about the North-Zealand, the North-Zealand relationship with Ghana. You know, something that was birthed out of the hard work and the foundation that was laid by Tom Vernon, our good friend. And I say this because many years ago, when the late Alhaji Sly Tete was alive,
yes,
we saw him also do something similar with some clubs, especially Udinese, where at a certain point it was like Ghana had an automatic slot every season for a player to move from here, and that sure does help a lot in terms of giving them a good foundation.
I mean, that's the path. I've been telling a lot of club owners. I've met a lot of academy owners over the past few years in Ghana, and I've told them that it's no magic. Just copy the model of the Right to Dream, imprint it. I've told a lot of my friends at some of the clubs here in Ghana that, look, there are lots of talents. I won't understand. And I've told Alhaji Akambi this face-to-face, privately, that I won't understand a situation why you'd be in Accra and Right to Dream will come all the way from Akosombo and recruit all the best players from Nima. You are in Accra. Alhaji, you are a Newtown man. There are lots of players in Newtown. Why don't you form your academy in such a way that they are so? We are rather pouring money into things that would not bear the fruits that we desire. Tom has formed a way. He has formed the blueprint for everyone to follow. It's no magic. If you put the blueprint into work, you would have similar results. And having relationships with clubs abroad and the rest, if you are able to churn out good players, you are able to bring out good players persistently, you have this door opened for you. But it seems that we are quite, fixed in our ways of doing things the same way over and over again, that partly works or doesn't work, and we are seem set on that path. Is it not surprising that you would find a player, basically a Colts player, leave Ghana, 12 months later, his value is 20 million euros. And we are, fighting over sometimes half-baked players, buy them for exorbitant amount for the domestic scene. And I keep on saying to all the clubs in Ghana that that's the way to go. Get the kids when they are young, get them good coaches that can train them to be good players, and they will feed into the system. And it works in Brazil. Why can't it work in Ghana? It can work in Ghana in the way that, for example, Right to Dream won't be able to send all the players they have in a particular year group to Norgeland. It's impossible. Maximum 5 players. What are the rest doing? I've told Akambi this. I've even told Coach Ouattara, Attoh coach, this. I had a brief conversation with the coach of Kotoko. I hinted this to him, that look, there should be a way where all of these academies that have all these great players, yes, some of them might go abroad, but not all of them would go abroad. Find a way, form relationships with these academies before you form your own, so that the few that would go abroad would go abroad. Those that will remain will be excellent players for our domestic leagues. The blueprint is there. You don't have to reinvent anything. It's not magic. It can be done, Nat. And if you look at the way Right to Dream is churning out players, and this time even, they are not only churning out players, they are churning out coaches, administrators, video analysts, all those backroom staff. If you go check from all of our national teams, you'll find either an assistant coach going through there. Currently, as we speak, our national team coach is from the same stable. Otoado is from the same stable. Who are the assistant coaches? John Peso is not from that stable, but Fatawu is.
Yeah, that's very true.
And when you go down there, the video analyst, Awal, he's from the Right to Dream Academy. So it is showing that this is the path to go. And I want to use this opportunity to plead with the club owners in Ghana again to start turning their minds in the way we think. Let's turn our minds in the way we think. You can form the model. A few of them might be good for abroad, but there would still be quality, good enough to stay in the domestic league and excite the domestic league and dominate Africa. A further example is Ivan Spencer. A few years ago, he played for Inter Allies. He was at the Right to Dream Academy.
Ivan Spencer, the footballer.
Yes, not the newscaster. Not my friend, the newscaster. Yes. He was at the Right to Dream Academy. He could not cut it. Inter Allies went to the Right to Dream Academy and said, we want him. He came to Inter Allies, played for a season or two, even captained the local Black Stars team that won the WAFU in Cape Coast.
Yeah.
He's now in Finland. So there are opportunities. It must not necessarily be that the player must go through Norgeland and hit the streets in Europe. For those that don't get the opportunity to go to Europe, there must be opportunities here. Some of them are going to the Ivy League universities in America. Harvard, Yale, Stanford, all of those universities. They are having the opportunities. But yet, there are still many more of these players who can go through our system, excite the local league. The cost will not be too much, and get us to dominate, and also have to find their path to go to Europe. And for these young players, I tell them also, because some of these decisions rest solely on them. Don't be fixated on going to Europe. Yes, you might have colleagues. We are all not the same. You might have colleagues who at the beginning might want to go to might be qualified or might be attracted to the European clubs, or the European clubs want them. But the truth also is that you might not all have the same opportunity. So you have to, redirect your thinking. There are a lot of players, talented now, who are sitting in the country, young, 18, 19. They say, oh, I don't want to play for any club locally. I don't want to play for any club locally. I want a club from abroad to come and take me and go. You sit there 2-3 years, you'll still be languishing.
And by a certain time, you realize that the the age catches up with them.
It catches up with you, and it is finished.
Yeah. Okay, so some subtle heckling is going to
Dara.
Why is somebody in the studio crying
Dara.
physically?
These are physically. These are cracker people. I'll deal with them later on. But it's good to have you.
Oh, Nat.
Gentlemen.
Dara.
Yeah, Dara. Yeah, I know. You relax.
This
Talk about.
my brother Dara
Yeah.
is here.
Yeah, he's here. Yeah.
He's the one saying all these things.
Yeah, sure.
Ibrahim Sani Dara. So we lived at Ashford House, Bristol,
Yeah.
and he's preaching this.
Okay, so
Must it take him this long?
Yeah, it's interesting. Mimba, it's interesting to
I'll go over.
Mimba. It's interesting that I have you, the set of you in the studio, because I mentioned earlier that Jeffrey and Larry were going to take us into the Democracy Cup. Now, Ibrahim Sanida has raised a point about Accra Hearts of Oak. Accra Hearts of Oak, in terms of tradition, is one of the two biggest clubs in this country. Now, they're going up against their arch rivals, Asante Kotoko, in the much expected Democracy Cup, which your outfit is putting together. Now, the House of Legislature came together. It was a very beautiful event. The Speaker of Parliament himself headlining it. And for once in a very long time, you realize that the whole of Parliament, 2/3 of Parliament was in a hall, and the focus was on football and some of these issues that Ibrahim Sanidara has raised to start off the show. In a few moments as well, I'll get Sadiq Adams to join the conversation. He's already on standby to join the conversation as we look ahead to this big cup game that is coming off next weekend. Okay, guys, Hearts of Oak, Asante Kotoko for the Democracy Cup. Let's get into the kind of excitement we want to create. And we've just gone into the off-season period, and clearly this will be a big spectacle, especially considering that every other major activity will be over. So then this is something that fans should look forward to.
Not. I'm very excited. Let me take this opportunity to greet your listeners and the viewers. And I'm very happy that my brother Sani is here. You call him, he will not answer. He thinks that we don't matter to him any longer. But it's fine. Sani will always be my brother. But House of Oak, Kumasa Sante Kotoko. The issue at stake is not just about House of Oak, Kumasa Sante Kotoko. You heard him. You heard Morris is also here.
I love that.
They should give us 3 hours. Because we have done a great disservice to the industry that gave birth to all of us. Morris, Sonny, Jeff, myself, yourself, Nat. And I wonder why we think that, because House of Oak didn't do well, Kotoko didn't do well, we want to kill these two brands. Whatever that we have to do to protect them and help them, just like my brother Sani said. So I've spoken to Alaji Kambi, I've spoken to the coach. Right to Dream can't do everything.
It's true.
They cannot. And he said, at most, they can push maybe 5 players. And when we talk about maybe football academy, people think that they are just going there to go and do football.
Or just give it the brand name.
Yes, football. But like Sani said, it is not only about football. There are a lot of Right to Dream graduates who are in universities. So if Mr. Speaker says that, look, let's do Democracy Cup, and give birth to something that will give a national character. Parliament Soccer School of Excellence. Knowing very well that you cannot say that 275 MPs, so they're picking players from the constituencies.
Yeah.
Yes. Not all of them will become professional players. But some will become physiotherapists, some will become coaches, some will become something else, and all of that. The football space is very, very huge. It is not only about you becoming a professional footballer. There are other things that will come out of it. So my point is, look, if we are not just doing House of Folk Kotoko, but if you are starting something, this is the first time Parliament is doing something. It cannot be any other club. It must be House of Folk and it must be Kotoko. The reason being House of Folk and Kotoko is that they have paved the way for all of us. I hear people talk this, blah, blah, and this. Is Sunny sitting here? Morris, myself. There are 3 clubs in this country. Has Kotoko Olympics. Whether you like it or not, you can say whatever you want to say. Okay, now we have Heart of Dreams. Heart of Lions, sorry. Oh my who? Not Amasi. Oh my who?
Well, Dr. Randy Abbey and Eric Sedi Kutocha.
He has a traditional home.
Yes.
What is Dr. Randy Abbey's home?
Well, his home is Greater Accra.
No.
That's
What
the
is
folk
his?
stuff.
We are talking about football. What is
you
his
mean
home?
football-wise?
Yes.
Accra Hearts of Oak, of course.
Moses Park. What is his home?
House of Folk.
Okay, that's very true.
Eh?
Yeah.
Today, our brother, in Sotraman, the general manager, Edmaka.
Dumaka.
No,
What
Samatex.
No, I'm saying
Samatex, yeah.
Samatex.
Yes.
What is his home?
Kotoko.
It's not Kotoko.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
I can tell you,
Even
name
the
all of them.
executive chair is Kotoko. Kwamiche.
All
Nations,
of them.
Nations Kotoko. You-
So clearly,
So-
yeah, so it's
So
a
this
good point
thing
to
that we
raise,
do
yeah.
and we behave like they are whatever, this, blah, blah. Look, House of Folk Kotoko Olympics, they have given birth to what we are seeing. So let's try as much as possible and bring them together. So the Democracy Cup, it is not about House and Kotoko. It's about bringing everybody together. And that is what Mr. Speaker sought to do.
Jeffrey, great competition will be stirred, especially considering the way the season has been tough for both. I mean, these two giants.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, good afternoon to your cherished listeners. If you look at the season under review, you wouldn't have been proud of the performance of both great clubs, House of Oak and Asante Kotoko, because this is not a standard you expect them to set. But you also have to appreciate that sometimes this thing to happen to big clubs all over the world. The most important thing is how they pick up from where they found themselves now. Do they really understand the level of competition and business that come with football today? And how ready do they have the right people who appreciate and know that needed steps to be taken together, that now they need to run, not walk? Because, listen, it's not about rich history again. I remember 15 years ago I said this. People thought it was a joke. Chief Larry told him. I said that on African continent, it will get to a time where the so-called pedigree of what you have achieved in the past will not matter. But you have to prove it on the pitch of play. If we check the World Cup qualifiers that have just come to an end, you realize that the reality is dawning on what I said 15 years ago. We saw what Guinea did to Algeria. And then you also saw Mozambique did to Guinea at home. Now it's easy for Guinea to dare to go to Algiers and beat them 2-1. Mozambique went to Conakry, did that. Central African Republic, but for God, they would have beaten us. It's the reality check. You understand me? So now it's not about 4-time champion. Prove it on the football play. You saw what is happening to Nigeria. Nigeria have played 4 games. What happened to them? 1 loss, 3 draws. So the two teams must appreciate the reality that, listen, this is not the standard we've set for ourselves. We need to come back to the reality. And we need people who appreciate and understand the game. Now, to the Democracy Cup. Look, for me, what my brother Sani was saying is very key. But that is the reason why, Mr. Speaker, beyond the House and Kotoko that will be playing, and then the curtain raiser between the legends led by Stephen Appiah and the MPs that has, MPP, NDC, MPs forming one team, wearing the same jersey, which is the key objective of what we are preaching. We are one people, irrespective of the party we find ourselves, irrespective of ideology. We should remember that we need to guard against complacency, because the democracy that we are practicing, we must make sure we sustain it. We should not take it for granted and think that we can treat it anyhow. We have a history and where we are coming. We don't want to go back there again. But beyond that, the two major things that will come out of the Democracy Cup, one is the Soccer School of Excellence. Look, what is happening today, we've been there before, but we have to go back and pick it and run with it and sustain it. The Soccer School of Excellence today is the way to go. And Mr. Speaker has made it very clear that he wants to make sure that we pick the best of talent across the nation. 2 talents each from each constituency, scouting done by legends. That will be 550 to form the backbone of the maiden edition. With top class trainers. Because when you bring the players there, you must have the people with the right technical know-how. Training kids is the most difficult job to do. We all here are parents. Even handling our parents at home, you know how difficult it is. Especially when they are boys, you are in trouble. So having set number of kids where you are training them something to learn and accommodate, to exhibit things that they are not used to, you need somebody who can accommodate, have the spirit of appreciating children and tolerating children exigencies. So we'll get the right people to make sure they train that. But beyond that, Mr. Speaker said, listen, we need to tackle the fundamental challenge confronting our football in this country. The train of trainers. It's a major problem. The coach we are talking about, a lot of people are coaches at the coach level. We don't have a properly structured course anyway, but the few we have around, who are the trainers there? Most of them are doing this out of hobby. They are not properly trained. But you want to make sure that the second cycle institution, today most of the players who are coming from the coast level or second cycle institutions, players who come from the coast and the Division 2 come from second cycle, if you look at the 12, 15 years. But the PE teachers that are training them are not trainers, they are not coaches. A PE teacher is limited when it comes to train of players. Now, Mr. Speaker said that I'm going to make sure I pick, to start with, a PE teacher from each secondary school in a constituency. So let's say your constituency, you pick a PE teacher from a secondary school there, 275. For them to obtain a license D, coaching certificate from a Ghana Football Association.
Wow, this is interesting, Jeff. I mean, so someone sits back and looks at the colorful launch of the Democracy Cup in Parliament by the Speaker, and is thinking, oh, this is a special cup game, Hearts and Kotoko. Let me go and look for my Hearts jersey. Let me go and look for my Kotoko jersey. But then it goes way beyond that. Well, we'll be going into all of those details. We'll have to set up a platform to go into all of those details, because this is something many people have been clamoring for. People send us messages during the week asking for some of these things and how the system is planning, or how the FA is planning to take care of all the backlog of young people who are looking forward to having these platforms so they can develop their talent and move into different spaces, as well as the trainers of trainers you're talking about. But let me go around and ask about the expectations of I'll ask Morris, I'll ask Ibrahim, and then I'll ask Sadiq, who is joining us from a distance, about the real expectation for the quality of the game in terms of the kind of entertainment is going to give the football fans on the day, so that it establishes itself well as a big cup game. Because now in the off season we don't really have any major cup games, so the Democracy Cup can become something major that we can look forward to in the off season. Morris?
Good afternoon to my fellow panelists. I haven't seen some of them in a while. I was with Jeff in Samurai Boy a few weeks ago, so and good afternoon to your listeners. I think I'm excited about the Democracy Cup. not just because we're going to have Hearts and Kotoko to play, Hearts and Kotoko to play, the two biggest football brands in Ghana, but what the values it seeks to project, because football teaches us something, and Hearts and Kotoko, they are two rivals, just like we have our two major political parties, but they compete, and later after 90 minutes they are friends, and then they show friendship, they cooperate to at the political level to develop the country. So hopefully, apart from the excitement we hope to see on that day, we are also looking at the opportunity of the values of sports and values of football translating into how we do politics. And then beyond that, some of the great ideas being espoused about getting trainers of trainers to acquire licenses. That's for the bigger picture. But hopefully what the Democracy Cup will do is that it will teach us how to compete at the sporting level, at the political level. But at the end of the exchanges, we learn to cooperate, collaborate, and help push the nation forward.
Okay, the Democracy Cup is coming off next weekend. It's on the 17th. Yeah, because it had to be pushed forward a bit. Yeah, so on the 17th of July. Okay, let me just pick the thoughts of Sadiq Adams. Sadiq Adams is a former, Swag Sports Journalist of the Year and the head of Angel Sports. Sadiq, good to have you here on the show. Thanks for making the time.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a pleasure, Nat.
So, Asante Kotoko versus Hearts of Oak. Any day it should spark a lot of excitement and, bring the fans to the stands. And of course it has a big ripple effect, like the panelists have already said in the studio.
Yeah, it's very exciting to get to know that they've permeated the political, people who have the will to make policies to change the standard of the game, investment, and the only way you can do that is by going to them and involving them beyond just requiring financial assistance and all that. So I'm very glad I've listened to Jeff and Chief Larry before today and have gone through whatever Parliament has decided. I think it shouldn't always be or only be about what the Speaker thinks. I think it should be something of an annual event, and how continuous it is only when we get the results. We continue to get the results and give them the leverage, give the country the leverage it requires. We have to even substitute some of the ceremonial games that have become very obsolete in place of a Democracy Cup every year. And when we do that, when we have a fixed date in the Ghana football calendar, because of the amount of eyeballs it will attract and also the support that will come from the parliamentarians and the political class. From both sides, something like this will always give people the chills, and it can even be replicated across the regions. And if we do this in 2025, in Brongahafo, in 2027 in Tamale, I think beyond the Kotoko and Hearts, there could be other games across various divisions and even inter-school levels. It should be big, but it should not be about the current speaker wanting to get involved in football and accepting that something like this should happen. I think it should be put on paper, formalized, and something that becomes an annual event of that nature.
Well. Thank you. Let's get Ibrahim Sanidare's thoughts on this one as well. Ibrahim, look, for me, it's always the nostalgia that was created yesteryear, and how we, as a football collective, created something big in terms of value that everybody could benefit from. We created a sub-economy with this Hearts and Kotoko fixture. Now the Democracy Cup is reviving it. And so what is your expectation, finally, for the big game itself on the day on July 7th?
I think that it should be a precursor to what we should see next season in the two biggest teams in the country.
Great.
I think football in this country revolves around these two teams. And if what happened to them last season is anything to go by, they should start learning their lessons from now, and they should start showing their supporters that things are changing. And it should also be a beacon of hope for democracy, where democracy in the world, it's now been under severe challenge. Yesterday, in the United Kingdom, the long-reigning Conservative Party were thrown out. The Reform Party, that was also quite populist in its approach, gained a lot of votes that they were not supposed to gain. And the Labour Party has come to power. In the same way, in Ghana...
In South Africa too, the DA has made some inroads.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It should tell us a lot of things.
What is happening in the US?
In the US too. And in Ghana, it should tell us a lot of things. I'm quite worried about the way our democracy has gone, to be honest. Let's just be brutally honest and say that you now find a lot more students thinking that going into politics is not for public service. They think that it's a way to become rich. I think that we should put that aside. We should put honesty first. I think that the concept of teaching our young people to be honest is what we should bequeath the next generation. Because politicians, as it is everywhere in the world, have lost trust. A lot of people don't trust in politicians anymore, whether it is the developed countries or the developing countries. We should now use this opportunity to try to turn the minds of young people that, one, you would have to work. When you go into politics, you are going to serve the people, but not to earn from the people. And I think that through this concept of the Democracy Cup, it can inject this message to young people that it's an issue of public service. And through sports, it's where you can get to unite people, get people to truly listen to you. I think that it's a good thing. They should continue. They should make this an annual event and use it to also get the opportunity to bridge the gap. What gap it is that is widening between politicians and the public, particularly the young people. You see what is happening in Kenya. The young people feel completely disconnected to what is happening. I think we should use this opportunity to bridge the gap. I think it should not end with this. I think it should be a week-long activity that at the end of the year, the parliament year, they should use an opportunity to create lectures, forums, where people can come, people who've truly got the country at heart, to ask questions, to create the forum for the young people to come out there and voice their concerns. We don't want to go the path of Kenya. We don't want to get to the levels that other countries got to. This is a good opportunity. I think Larry and Jeff and the speaker have done something good.
Masani, the truth is, sorry for this rude coming in. Mr. Speaker, he has initiated that. There been mock parliament. So you realize that last week, for instance, it was in Sunyani, it was in Kumasi.
Yes.
They did a lot of activities and all of that. But sometimes it's amazing. The media will choose what they want to put out there. But Mr. Speaker, as a person, you know him. We all know him. He believes that, look, we have to let people know where we came from, the things that we've been through, and the issues that you've raised, and that's what he's doing. But if the media, they don't put it out there, it becomes like, oh, yeah, nothing is being done. But the issues that you've raised, there have been mock parliament. Look, Mr. Speaker is sponsoring 10,000 school kids to come and watch the Democracy Cup.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's where I'd want you, Jeff, to tell me about the arrangements for the game, because I'm already getting some messages here about, arrangements for the game. We've talked about how the ticketing format and all of those. Now I'd want everybody to know, so that everybody knows how to arrange and get and view this game.
Okay, so because it's democracy, there are major stakeholders when it comes to democracy. The number one stakeholder when it comes to democracy, this country, the sitting president. You realize that went to the sitting president, the right honorable speaker presented a trophy to him, and then the sitting president made it very clear that whoever comes after him should make sure that they continue
The legacy. Yeah.
And let me put on record, this will be an annual event.
Very well.
It's an annual event. It'll be an annual event.
So the first 10,000 seats are taken, and they'll be
By the students.
but
Mr.
they'll
Speaker
be
is
occupied
paying
by
for-
students.
By the students, yes.
Wow,
For a second
okay.
cycle institution.
Okay.
Now, beyond that, major stakeholders, so I'm talking about trophy tour next week. The trophy tour will include major stakeholders as the former President John Mahama, former Speaker Dua Jao, don't forget the two of them were former members of parliament. President Kufuor, former President Jonathan Kufuor, he was also a former member of parliament as well. Then we're also looking at the Chief Justice is a major stakeholder when it comes to our democracy. The Electoral Commissioner is a major stakeholder. The Inspector General of Police, major stakeholder. The Chief of Defense Staff, major stakeholder. So the trophy will be presented to this major stakeholder, especially in a year where we have election coming. The Democratic Cup is more relevant this year than any other time because we have an election that is upcoming. So that will be done. And then we have a press soiree Monday's week. That's on the 15th of July. On the 16th of July, there will be a joint press conference between Kumasi and Sandy Kotogo and Accra as well in Parliament House. And then on the 17th, that's on a Wednesday, the gate will be open at 1 p.m. We have a curtain raiser. Before then, there will be a pre-match formality for the both clubs in the morning by 10. 1 p.m. gate open. And then 3 p.m. there's a curtain raiser between MPs of NDC, MPP, forming one team, coming up against Stephen Appiah-led Legends. Then 6 p.m., the mother of all matches, House of Over San Gorogo. And the most important thing is the U.S. Who goes to the U.S. to play the DC United? So
The winner of that game
Yes, will
goes
be
to
in
play
the US.
DC United.
Yes, in the
Okay.
US.
Ahead of the start of next season?
Yes.
Or, okay.
You understand me? Yes.
I see. Interesting
Then,
stuff.
yes, so after that, we trophy presentation and then medals and then the postman press conference. So basically, that is the itinerary.
Okay. And in terms of, getting tickets, purchasing tickets, yeah.
Ticket is very simple. We're doing is 20 cities across board. That's the popular stand, also stand. Then we have the VIP. The VIP.
That's where
is,
Morris
the
sits.
lower VIP where
50,
my senior
Morris.
Morris was my senior cracker. Yes, we call him Attoh.
Where is the Suya? Where does the Suya guy?
But my
yeah.
Morris is my. I was in
these
a cracker.
guys-
He was my senior.
Sunny
Sunny
already excited.
Sunny is 100 Ghana.
Immediately-
He goes to the VVIP.
No,
VIP.
Sunny
But
did-
Sunny always makes sure that the Suya, the guy who grills the Suya, is not too far from
I
the
don't
VVIP.
know. I don't
You
know
yeah.
the school that Sunny went to. I hear he went to some school around Legon.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
But there is only
Some school around.
Jealousy.
Yes.
Jealousy.
Yeah.
But
They know.
there is only one school.
Jealousy.
It's the school of
The
no
late
regret.
former Minister for Sport, D.T. Mansa, would say, petty jealousy.
There is only one school. It's the school of no regret.
Okay. Well, you can decide to attend.
Oh, there is a school. There is only one.
No,
School.
you
Oh,
can.
Morris.
Yes, you
Morris.
can.
Yes.
You can.
We are not a school.
Very well.
We are not a college.
By the
Yeah,
Kaneshi market.
Yeah, you see, yes.
Kaneshi
Gentlemen, you can imagine that he's here talking about academies and schools. Those of us who attended colleges will wait and have another conversation because clearly we are not supposed to be here. We're above the conversation. And on that note, we'll do a set of messages, and after that, we'll get into the AFCON conversation.
3 speakers.
Yes, it is expected. It's expected of you to give us 3 speakers.
Feel the hearts of the Romans rejoice after winning their first European title. I am relentless. I am ambition. I am winner. I am Jose Mourinho. I am football.com.
We at the Multimedia Group are proud to announce that we are the official free-to-air radio broadcast right owners for Euro 2024. These rights were acquired from Sporty TV, who are the official free-to-air broadcast right owners for Ghana and Nigeria. We will deliver live commentary of selected games, including the opening game and the final, with our team of talented commentators and seasoned analysts on Joy FM, Love FM, Hits FM, Adom FM, Insura FM, and Asempa FM. Apart from the live radio commentary, the Multimedia Group has also curated some custom Euro 2024 shows on radio, TV, and digital, as well as live viewing events, all aimed at delivering unparalleled experiences of the competition for our audience. The 2014 competition, being hosted by Germany, will run from June 14 to July 11, 2024. The Multimedia Group's radio broadcast coverage of the Euro 2024 tournament is by kind courtesy of Sporty TV and Sporty Bet. Watch selected matches of Euro 2024 live on Sporty TV, channel 36 on your digital TV sets. And the Joy Sports coverage of Euro 2024 is sponsored by NASCO. NASCO, bring home happiness.
Joy 99.7 FM.
So the Democracy Cup between Accra Hearts of Oak and Kumasi Asante Kotoko coming up at the Accra Stadium, and that will be on the 17th of this month. And it sure will be a very, very exciting one indeed. We will be discussing some more on this one and others. And we're throwing the focus now on the Africa Cup of Nations, which is coming up. Now, as I mentioned, I visited Morocco some 3 months ago. And already, Morocco has positioned itself and is getting major franchises in international sport, from golf through to athletics, through to, football and many others. Now, the thing is, we need to get our teams there. There is one group of major interests and would have to discuss it. I'm talking about Ghana's group, where there is Sudan, who are coached by Kwesi Appiah. It has raised a lot of interesting conversations, especially that which was discussed in detail yesterday by my colleagues here on the show. Now we need to get into the business of AFCON 2025. Asani, this is your space and your baby. You've been in the
please.
Yeah.
With all, can I excuse myself in this particular topic, this Kwesi Appiah issue, because I'll be very, very, very biased.
Okay.
Sunny knows everybody.
Okay.
So
will you support? Yeah. Let me ask you this before we
Kwesi
go into the
Appiah
conversation.
will not resign.
As an executive committee member. Okay, we're not going to go into that because it was discussed yesterday here in detail. But before that, Larry, you are called Larry Otu. You come from Greater Accra. So on the day when Black Stars play against Sudan, who will you support?
Sudan.
You support Sudan?
Because Kwesi Appiah is the coach.
Okay. At this point, you can excuse yourself.
People will say Omusubon.
It's not about Omusubana. He knows. He knows my loyalty. He knows the things that I do.
Okay.
The truth is that
I am very, very, very,
he's the
very, very.
advisor of Kwesi Appiah, so you shouldn't expect less. And I also agree with him that Kwesi Appiah should not resign.
He gave you two. He won you 2 games. 2.
And what happened?
Sani will tell you. Then you say you sacked him.
You see the truth, and I also support him. I also support him that Kwesi Appiah should not resign. Why? Because number one, I don't see the issue that people have been raising. In fact, we had a similar case with the Ghana national team. Ghana played against Serbia at the World Cup in 2010. Who was in charge of the Ghana national team then?
Milovan Riva.
Yeah. He was a Serb. He beat Serbia. Maybe the difference between him and Ghana is the ESCO. But there's always a case where people can recuse themselves from such discussions, and it should be a straightforward case. I think Kwesi Appiah being in charge of Sudan and also being in the ESCO would add a lot of good to Ghana football. An example is just simple. There are now about 3 Sudanese players joining Kotoko, for example. It is through his ingenuity. The learning experiences he would have in Sudan, he will bring it back as a Ghanaian to impact on Ghana football. So I don't see if there are any issues of, let's say, people would think perhaps conflict, he can recuse himself from those meetings and carry on as usual. He's not on the Black Stars management committee. He doesn't take day-to-day decisions on the Black Stars. I think he can continue as it is. So we can continue with the AFCON.
Okay, that said, let's get down to the business. AFCON 2025. For Ghana, the conversation is the same one we've been having over 40 years.
Yes.
And that makes me want to start calculating my age, but that's for another day. Gentlemen, let's get down to the business. We'll just do group by group, and then when we get to Ghana, we'll do a bit more detail. Okay. There's Tunisia, Madagascar, Comoros in capital letters for obvious reasons, and then the Gambia. Jeff.
Well, Tunisia is always the Carthage Eagles who always qualify. They have a way of qualifying. Because they always build a very consistent side. They manage good transition in terms of making sure that when players come in, when they are aging, you realize that as you speak now, even Hebin Sak in a recent time has not been playing. So you have Safedin Jaziri coming in strongly as the one to replace him as the lead striker of the team. And you have Ben Romdani from Esperance coming. Slimane is playing very well now. That is what they do. You realize that Ben Shrifa is no more the goalkeeper. Said has come over. Ben Shrifa is now moving to third choice. They just have a nice way of managing good transition. And this is a group that I will not even waste my breath too much. Tunisia will easily tell them.
Well, okay, so 055-1111-997. That's the number for texting. 055-1111-997 or +233-55-1111-997. Okay, so Sadiq, I want you to also tell me what your thoughts are on Group B. Group B has Morocco, Gabon, Central African Republic, and Lesotho. Morocco, Gabon, Central African Republic, and Lesotho. And of course, Morocco will be going into this once again as the top performing side from the World Cup. Of course, the last AFCON saw them do their thing, but then they still carry that tag, and they're going to host this competition as well.
Well, these days it's very difficult to predict African football. Very, very difficult because a lot of the countries are catching up. Not only catching up, but also dethroning top nations from the apex of football, especially in tournaments and qualifiers. Qualifiers particularly because all these countries are trying to make their home venues a fortress. And the difficulty that some of them will face, especially Central African Republic, is the fact that if they are not able to complete the Bangui Stadium on time, they will be playing in either Morocco or any other venue, which will be an advantage sort of to Morocco themselves. And Gabon have also a very good stadium by virtue of hosting the AFCON in 2017. They've been able to maintain at least one or two of them. So these home venues have become somewhat an advantage to these nations when they play in the qualifiers. In the past, it would have been a walk in the park for Morocco, but no more. In the qualifiers, Rwanda and Gambia went to Gabon, and it was almost a win for Gambia in the recent World Cup qualifier. So on paper, you would want to look at Morocco, Gabon, Central African Republic, and Lesotho and say it's Morocco and Gabon because of how experienced they are on the African continent in the AFCON and also World Cup qualifiers, and by name of players. Morocco, Egypt are two North African countries who make mincemeat of these smaller countries. So Morocco will have their pass in that, but the battle will be between the battle to join them in second place possibly will be between Gabon and Central African Republic. And I will go for Central African Republic because after Daniel Cousine and Pierre Aubameyang and the other players exited the scene in Gabon, they've not been able to have a very smooth transition. So Gabon have been struggling even in the World Cup qualifiers. So Central African Republic have some excellent players, and Ghana will be a very good witness to this. We've seen them in the World Cup. In recent AFCON qualifiers, we went there and drew. So to me, Central African Republic is stronger on paper today than Gabon and Lesotho. So I would go for Morocco, Central African Republic to make it to Morocco.
These are the picks from Sadiq Adams. Now, so Morocco, Gabon, Central African Republic, and Lesotho making up Group B. Let us know what your thoughts are as well as we, look through all of these groups and see, based on the current situation, current form, and immediate past performance from the last AFCON, and of course qualifiers for the FIFA World Cup. Based on all of these, we just want to ask you where you think these respective teams are placing themselves. Remember, it's 055-1111-997. And here with me in the studio, Mr. Morris Kwanzaa. Morris Kwanzaa is the editor of the Graphic Sports and also immediate past vice president of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana. Mr. Jeffrey Asare is a director of Primeval Media and also a seasoned pundit and also a very big summarizer when it comes to boxing, high-end boxing, big-rated boxing bouts. Worked several years with some of the biggest broadcasters across the country. Talk about working with some of the biggest broadcasters. Ibrahim Sani Dara, he's an award-winning BBC journalist as well. Has served, done a lot of radio, done a lot of television, and also, is working with CAF as a media officer now. I'll have him do Nigeria, the group that has Nigeria, Benin, Libya, and Rwanda, because many years ago, he went and, went around, put himself at heavy risk, to fish out, a shady, transfer syndicate. We'll talk about that later on. But let's go to Group C. Mr. Morris Kwanzaa, at the time was a senior writer at the Graphic Sports newspaper when Egypt came to Ghana and won yet another AFCON title. So Egypt are in Group C with Cape Verde, Mauritania, and Botswana. Now, Egypt's have, in as much as they have a strong league and have the base of the team coming from there, have had some reliance on the star power of Mo Salah. It didn't come to play at the last AFCON, Morris, and it's a big challenge.
Well, it's a big challenge, and it's about how to get these transitions right. But I think the good thing about the Egyptians is that they have very good league and good players coming through. I mean, they already have very solid home base side. So whether or not they have Mo Salah, they always will have a very solid squad. The AFCON is like their baby. They are the most successful team at the AFCON. So qualify is just a matter of course. They know how to qualify for the AFCON and even how to get themselves into positions of winning it. So I expect them to qualify. Qualifying from this group, they have to deal with Cape Verde, Mauritania, and Botswana. And when you look at the progression of a team like Cape Verde, looking at what they've been doing recent times, the kind of players emerging from Cape Verde, you fancy them to go through with the Egyptians. I expect them to build on what we saw at the recent AFCON, and they are a team to watch. The Mauritanians, yes, they will be able to get a point, 1 or 2 points, most probably against Botswana. If you want it to, at the end of the day, I expect maybe Egypt to be on top. Second place will be Cape Verde, Mauritania, and then Botswana in that order. But it's going to be a very interesting group, at the end of which I expect Egypt and Cape Verde to sail through. They are the two strongest teams within that group.
Interesting.
I think, so to add to what Morris said, for Egypt, because they don't depend or rely solely on foreign-based players, a lot of players are mostly home-based players. And those home-based players are the team players that constitute the early team that is winning Champions League back-to-back. The current early team is the defending champion, and then you have Zamalek that won the Confederation Cup. So, yes, they are in transition. If you check the current team, you have Nabil Ahmed Dunga in midfield. There's a new player from Pyramid to Zamalek that is coming in. Emma Shaw is a new player from Zamalek that has come to Ali. Into the midfield, that used not to be the case. You then have Amre Sulaya, you have Mohamed El Neni, who is also fading out. But you have Nabil Ahmed Koka, the young player who's played the midfield for Ali throughout the season in the Champions League. So these young players, like once again, they know how to manage the transition very well. Ahmed Ghazi injury, but anytime he's in the team, you have Mohamed Abdel Monem, the young talented centre back, solid, brilliant player. 1-2 champions back to have gained experience. So you have Rami Rabia, who has had injury throughout the past season, but he's back now. He's the one that paired him. So you realize that Hani Mohamed is there. Ahmed Fetou, he's played 2 AFCONs, so that's consistent. Mohamed Shenawi, he had injury, so you have Shober, who was in the number 2 won the Champions League. Even when the number 1 recovered, the coach still allowed the number 1 to be on the bench for number 2. That's, you remember goalkeeper Shober, 82, Ahmed Shober's son. So even though they are in a transition, they still have a solid team.
Charlie, on a lighter note, my guy, 1982 and me, relax. 1982, I was.
So now, yes, you have Omar Mamouche. The front three will all be Mamouche. Salah is still there as the leader of the team, and then Trezeguet and Ahmed Esai from that they call it Zico from Zamalek. So the Egyptian team, when it comes to qualification, is not a problem. The problem now is because they enter the tournament, like what happened in AFCON. The tournament proper is when they need to now begin to gradually come to the party like we always know them to be. So qualification will not be a problem for them. They will sail through. And Kevet too, I think I agree with Maurice. Kevet are likely to be the next team that will qualify alongside the Egyptians.
All right. So 055-11-11997, 055-11-11997. Join us here on the Joy Sports Link as we take a close look at the recent AFCON draw for the qualification series for the next Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Morocco. Let's throw the focus on Nigeria, who are the seeded team in Group D. Nigeria is there, our neighboring Benin are there, there's Libya, and there's Rwanda. Rwanda, who are placing themselves, in the geopolitical space in Africa in a very unique way. But now they need to also come and prove it when it comes to football. They have employed Ghanaian technical expertise in coach Selas Tete before. Yeah. Clearly, they want to set the foundations right. But Sonny, Nigeria seem not to be getting it right with their legends. And after, the heroics or the achievement of the late Stephen Keshi,
the big boss.
Yes. And he also set a record, just like Didier Deschamps did. He won it as a captain and then he won it as a coach. Big record, which will be very difficult to replicate across the, What is it with Nigeria's legends and not getting it right with the national team? Finidi George being the recent casualty.
I think there's one thing that, if there's anything that Nigeria should learn from Ghana, is which legends should handle the team.
Okay.
Just because you've been a footballer does not automatically mean you'd be a good coach. What some of our legends have been able to do, and a lot of the legends must get this, that if you want to be a coach or an administrator, you must, 1, prepare for it. And you must have the academic training for it. It is not just, pushing a button and it's falling in place. Or you just observing as a footballer, therefore you become a good coach. There are a few Nigerians now who are coaching some teams or who have coached teams at the highest levels in the past. And I would say such level of experience is what Nigeria should have. There are people who just walk around the system and, count on patriotism and I've played for the country before. It doesn't work anymore. You have players that are playing at the highest level. Look at the quality of the Nigerian national team and its attack. If they are to experience the top level of world coaching and come home and see that the level is not the same, you are not going to get the same result. They must, tweak their minds and start to think outside the box. I would perhaps want to say Sunday Olise, who
he's had the opportunity
yes, but because of the internal disagreements and the rest, he's such a strong character. Yes, so you wouldn't have it that way. So maybe they should rejig, they should rethink again, and have an opportunity to give somebody who truly deserves it. Not only to say, the person is a legend, he has played football before. No. The quality of players you have, they have experienced the best coaching in the world. So you can't bring them to the national team and expect it to be a step down in standards. That standard must be maintained. If they want to replicate that form they had at the AFCON and the rest, they must replicate that standard. And I'm thinking that they, given what they saw during the recent World Cup qualifiers, the results that they had, I think it's now in their thinking that they might want to go the way I'm thinking now, perhaps go for a coach who can truly mold the side into a winsome team. That would be their only salvaging point. Otherwise, as Rancor, you might have heard what Osimhen said about Finidi George and all of those. It doesn't augur well at all for the team. They must stabilize the team and find a good coach. I would not say whether the coach should be a Nigerian or an ex-footballer. Competent coach. Find a competent coach. You have very, very good players. Find competent coach. Otherwise, they will face the situation they had in the World Cup qualifiers where Benin, Libya, and Rwanda can cause them some ugly surprises.
But
Sonny, yeah.
You see, Morris was talking about patience. The sacking of Jose Pessoa was needless. Because initially when he came, he was struggling. Now, what was the caliber of players at the disposal of Nigeria? He was struggling because he was playing a back four. Now he realized that, listen, the players I have now, let me play the two wing back. Finally, he had Olaina on the right, Zaidu Sanusi. There we saw, I have Trust Ekon, who's a serious leader. Calvin Bassi and co. So he went to the AFCON, he played that system. It was perfect. Finally, they had Ndidi coming back after a long injury. And you could see that one of the reasons why Osimhen played so well, Lookman played so was because of excellent work rate of the two wing backs. The man come back and say you are sacking him. You bring Finidi George, and he's also decided to change everything altogether. How is it going to work for you? So we need a lot of patience. The fact that they have quality players, I don't mean that they can bring any coach at all to work for them to get a result. We need patience for coaches. Coaches are not magicians. We need to give them time to build teams for them to get results. If you keep sacking coaches anyhow, you will not get a needed result. Teams that become successful takes time to build. These are national teams, not club level. So until we realize that on our part of the world, I'm sorry.
Well, we're still expecting some more of your message. We'll be sharing as many of them as possible, but just let us know. I've gotten some of them here. I'll be sharing them with you in a bit. But good afternoon to you, Mr. Charles Benoni Okain. Good afternoon to you, Globus. And good afternoon to everybody else who's tuned in Ghana and around the world. Let's go to Sadiq Adams now. Sadiq, there's Algeria, there is Equatorial Guinea, there's Togo and Liberia. What we immediately remember about Algeria is Jamel Belmaldi, who took the team and within the space of 9 months had won an AFCON. A former player who was giving us a redefinition of former players and their ability to win trophies or to be good coaches. And then they came to the next AFCON after that. It became a disaster.
Now, before you land, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I was in charge of the venue where Algeria were at this AFCON.
Wow.
They were in Bouaké.
Good.
And I was surprised how they prepared for the AFCON. Do you know they took over
that one they won?
No, the recent AFCON.
This recent AFCON, okay.
Yes. They took over an entire hotel, stripped it down completely 3 months before the AFCON. Wow. Rebuilt it and occupied the entire hotel by themselves alone just to win the AFCON. So, it comes back to how we perceive football.
Exactly.
How we spend money on football, where we spend money on football. I was really surprised. I went into the hotel 4 times myself, and I was surprised. Belmadi is a consummate professional. wanting everything to the letter. When we have press conferences, he'll call me by himself and say, what time do you expect me there? What time do I leave? What time? How many questions am I taking? It's like that. We went for the team arrivals meeting where you meet the players and tell them what we expect of them during the competition. When we got there, normally it's your team managers that should meet. He was there himself meeting us. Who do you want to see? How many photographs do you want to take? How many videos do you want to take? My players have pays attention to every detail. But it didn't go well for them. I don't think it was maybe he was lacking in anything. Perhaps maybe, it's just not his time. Maybe there are some old players in the team. He needs to rejig the squad. He's no longer there. But I think with this mentality and this level of preparation, Algeria will go places. I think they will qualify. But allow Sadiq to make his analysis of it. But just to give a great background.
Great. Interesting point you've raised there. And, Morris and Jeff, in our personal conversations, in our private conversations, we talk about these things. The level of organization and, the attention to detail. I mean, I always refer to Germany at the World Cup in 2014
in Brazil.
Look, the German team had a whole, just like the
Algerians did. Yes.
And the German team, their backroom staff alone, and I was just the late may God bless his soul, Modestus Zame, who was our head camera technician. He was along. I mean, we covered together. And we're talking about how detailed and how vast the team was. And when you come back home, the first port of call will be to look at the economy, look at our financial muscle and say, listen, we cannot afford these kinds of things. Yes. But people are making the investments and they are winning.
Yes, you see, we have to start changing our mind in the way we see sport. We just say, we put this amount of money. Why don't we get this amount of money back? Or the trophy, the prize money at stake is $3 million. Maybe you are spending $5 million. The trickle-down effect of it is more than maybe 100 or $500 million. The impact of sport is not appreciated by the way we do simplistic analysis. The Moroccans, for example, are spending lots and lots of money. They've not won anything yet, but they know the benefits that it will bring the country. It might not be direct benefits, but the indirect benefits. The other day, I was doing a Confederation Cup match for Dreams FC. And I looked at the economy around Kumasi and how that match alone had sparked a complete economy. Dreams did not win the trophy, but if you imagine the businesses surrounding the Kumasi Sports Stadium,
oh my goodness,
all the bars, the restaurants, the local economy, the hotels surrounding the stadium. I just looked at the production team, the television production team. They had about 70 people. All of them are Ghanaians. They were employed because of that match. The hotels, all the people that are in the hotels are in employment because of that match. The taxi drivers and all of those things, all the industry. So I think we have to stop looking at football through this simplistic analysis of, we put $5 million in the Blasters. How much do we get? It goes more than that. When you go, just ask the politicians, some of them who make these arguments. When you go to the airports and you are going to other countries, have you ever heard them asking, MP, do people even ask you about MPs? The first thing they ask you is Abedi Pele.
We have
Stephen Appiah, Abedi Pele.
Sunny, I have friends who have signed autographs on behalf of Stephen Appiah under subtle duress. They didn't intend to do any impersonation of any sort. Good afternoon, my brother Eloy Amande. Eloy Amande was telling me a story of how they had to just sign the autographs because there was two ladies and a gentleman who saw him in Germany and said, "Look, you are," and and they wouldn't take any no for an answer.
Ask Stephen Appiah. Around the 2010 World Cup, I was somewhere in London in a Turkish kebab shop. I phoned him out of the blue. He spoke to the guys on video. I phoned Stephen. They had the photo of Fenerbahce in their shop, Turkish kebab shop in London. I phoned Stephen up. We had a conversation and they were telling me about Stephen Appiah. I phoned Stephen. They spoke with Stephen. Up to the day today, I eat kebab.
That
free.
is what I'm about to say.
I'm telling you. Up to the day today.
Let's get Morris. Let's get the address. We all will go. I have loads of videos with Stephen.
You know this thing. I think I don't know if Sunny remembers. I think it's 22 or 23 years ago. Similar. Our good friend, may God continue to keep his soul. Tony
Amofa, yes.
He signed autograph because people thought he looked like Samuel Osei in South Africa.
Yes. It's true.
22, 23 years ago.
Charlie. Hey.
Charlie, so you see the impact of what sports does for this country. We should not underestimate it. And particularly, I find this thing particular with us. As sports journalists, we start these conversations and make these simplistic comparisons and analysis that, why do you have to spend money here? Why do you have to spend? If you tell Ghanaians that you are going to strip down a complete hotel in Buake, rebuild it, there will be chaos.
Sunny.
There will be total chaos in this country. I think we must turn. We must turn. When we travel, we have to observe. See things as they are and turn the minds of people and see the benefits. There are direct and indirect benefits. The indirect benefits sometimes by far overweighs what we see with our eyes or the monies that we call. Look, Morocco, for instance, spent this much for the World Cup, but after the World Cup, tourism in the country has risen by 600%. Imagine the number of people this has affected.
If you want, Ibrahim.
Yeah, not.
For close to 3 decades.
Sadiq will come in. Yeah. Okay, Morris.
Quickly. Morocco for close to 3 decades have been chasing the FIFA World Cup. Yes. So their investment in football didn't start
today
because they know the effect of hosting the FIFA World Cup
and that
what
goes
it
to
does to their economy.
Exactly, and that is what goes to. That's what goes to underscore what Morris's earlier point about patience. And having that heart to just wait and do things.
And decades of investment
finally pays off.
Take them decades of investment.
And you know, when you visit Morocco, you would understand why they are putting themselves
up
for the World Cup.
Let's
now go to Marrakesh to understand it better.
I was in Marrakesh. We shall discuss. We will discuss. That's for off air. Sunny, I like the look on your face. Sadiq, please make the point.
So I think it's a very interesting conversation around here, the preparation that goes into it. And I was in Ivory Coast as well. The official hotel that was allocated to Morocco was rejected. And they...
Listen. Let's listen to what he's saying.
Yeah, I don't know if it was by design. There's a very big hotel in San Pedro, just along the beach, without any exits. 2 exits, one to the beach, and one from the main point of the road. And 2 years before the AFCON, the hotel had been acquired by a Moroccan lady.
Yes.
So I don't know if they had designed this, that they were going to occupy that particular hotel when they qualified for the AFCON. So they refused the hotel that was given to them by CAF and then occupied this hotel, the best in San Pedro along the beach. It's like the Labadi Beach Hotel setting for the entire duration of the tournament. So you've got to understand what goes into, and they did a lot of fittings. So 3 weeks before the AFCON, the hotel was not given out to any other guests. There was an extensive fittings in the rooms just to suit the taste of what the Moroccans wanted. And they told me they came with around 20 chefs from Morocco just for the AFCON, and because the hotel was owned by a Moroccan lady, they had the privilege of having Moroccan diets and the feel of Morocco, even including items in the various rooms of the hotel. So
we don't have,
I perfectly understand. I also do not subscribe to the school that you are going to a tournament and you have to budget according to perhaps the prize money. I don't subscribe to that. I don't think that we will ever get a team that can say they are doing this because they want to win the tournament. We may want to do that side by side with how much we are investing even from the qualifiers. But what we are also overlooking is the fact that, Sani, there are around 4 or 5 countries on the continent who are likely having the capacity, or who may likely have the capacity to do this kind of preparation. And we have to know what has gone into their development. We cannot invert. For instance, Ghana, we cannot invert the system. You can't go to the AFCON and say you want to change the settings of an entire hotel just to suit the taste of the Black Stars for $3 million in accommodation, when your country, that you don't even have a national complex for your team. You have seen the facility in Morocco. They can afford this. They can afford to do whatever they want to prepare. You go to Morocco and every 200, 300 meters in a certain radius, there are pitches of high standard. If Real Madrid can compete other clubs to acquire your national training center for a club World Cup, if it is one of the best in the world, and we've seen what is in Egypt, we've seen that the Algerians have done 16 provinces, standard training complexes, where players are accommodated. If you have these basic developmental facilities and you go to the AFCON or World Cup and say you want to invest in winning at the top, you have your foundation and pillars already. You cannot invert that and invest the money at the top. And this is particular. A Zamalek fan told me that when they started competing with Kotoko, TP Mazembe Ali, only Kotoko had a charter jet, where they will arrive sometimes on the day of a game. And these archives are very much documented in Menchia. Kotoko had chefs. They had their own jet that was granted by Menchia Palace. I don't know if it was a military jet, I was told. So they traveled in this with, specifically whoever they needed to be on board, including security. But they forgot about the development, and that is why we are here. You cannot invest everything at the top. We would all like the Black Stars to do some of these things. But then you look at how long is this sustainable? It is Morocco doing it. Go to Morocco, and you are. We went around 6-7 provinces in Morocco recently by courtesy their king and the FA, just to see for ourselves the facilities. In a community of 200,000 people, they have 2 world-class stadiums.
It's true.
If this country says they want to do something like this, they have reached, like we say, they are only be compared to the likes of Germany, Brazil, and they have some of the best facilities, even than the European countries. So we have to look at the countries doing this and why they can afford to do this. You can't do this at the expense of basic developmental structures. And we lack it, completely lack it. So when people make this argument, I'm sure that we also have to find sense in it, in a sense that there are some important things that we need to do first before we think about
to do it.
Thank you so much, Sadiq Adams. There's more to do, so time is not our best friend. You know, when the conversation is getting sweet, time always becomes a foe in a way. So let me do some messages, and after that we'll come and do 2 picks from each group. We've got Ghana's group, of course. We'll spend some time on there, and after that we can do some more. Okay, Julian Millsbeal. Julian Millsbeal is calling from the US. Julian, it's been a while. Let's do our best and see if we can raise him on the phone. Okay, so let me just do these messages that are here with us very quickly, and then we can go to the rest of the groups. All right, so this one, there's one here from Felix Adai in Ohio. He says, Sonny, you know the country you are from. You know we can. How the question is, how can we strip a hotel down and rebuild? But you equally know that half of that money would end up in people's pockets, and you know that the Ghanaian is born bad and selfish. How much money hasn't been pumped into the Pram Pram center? But how much have we seen? Sonny, it's not like journalists talk and complain too much, but some things with our football and our politicians amazes me greatly. Okay, there's this one that is from Charles Benoni. Okay, he says, the Kwesi Appiah issue is a matter of common sense. If the Black Stars win against Sudan, they will say he deliberately caused it because of his role in the Black Stars. The reverse is true in the sense that Ghanaians will say he used deficiencies to get Sudan to win. The best is for him to step aside. And then also he says, when we talk about investments, we talk about monies and resources going into specifics, not ending up in people's pockets. If we change our attitude as managers and become forthright and spend the resources for their intended purposes, people will keep quiet and things will happen. Okay, there's a few more messages here. I'll try to get some of them. There's one from Kobe in Cape Coast. There's one from Fred Amwa. And then there's another one there. I'll grab all of them in a bit. But let's just quickly get to the groups and then we can spend some time on Ghana's Black Stars. Okay, so there's Group G. Okay, so Morris, Group G. Ivory Coast, the defending champion, Zambia, Sierra Leone, and Chad. Which will be your two picks? Very quick. Come again?
Oh, the defending champions, Ivory Coast, and then the Zambians.
Okay, very well. For very obvious reasons. Group H is DR Congo, Guinea, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. Jeff?
DR Congo, Guinea.
DR Congo and Guinea?
Yeah.
Okay, no space for Tanzania and Ethiopia?
No.
Not at all. Okay, Sunny?
Group I will take Mali and Mozambique.
Mali and Mozambique?
Yes.
Okay. Sadiq, Cameroon, Namibia, Kenya, and Zimbabwe.
That's very difficult. Cameroon will qualify, but for the three of them, I think Tanzania have been building a very strong base. So, by Cameroon, Tanzania to shock the other competitors.
You mean Namibia? So because it's Namibia. Sorry, Namibia, Kenya, Zimbabwe.
No, Tanzania. Cameroon, Tanzania.
No.
H, sorry. So it's Cameroon in Group J. It is Cameroon, Namibia, Kenya, and Zimbabwe.
Namibia, Kenya, Zimbabwe.
Yeah, sure.
So I'll go for Namibia.
Cameroon.
Namibia, rather. Okay.
Yes, Namibia.
All right. So, Sani, South Africa, Uganda, Congo, and South Sudan.
That is a banana skin. I will go for South Africa as the first team, but the fight between Congo and Uganda will be intense, given what we've seen of the Congolese national teams in recent time. But my preference will be for Uganda to go, but Congo can cause some surprises.
Okay, Senegal won the last two editions. They have Burkina Faso, there's Malawi, and Burundi. Jeff?
Senegal, Burkina Faso.
Okay.
Even though they are struggling a bit at the World Cup qualifier, but Burkina Faso, Senegal.
Okay, so let me do some messages here, and then we can do some comments on Ghana. Hi, Nat. Great in-studio conversations on the various issues in our sporting sector. I think the Kwesi Appiah issue of conflict of interest in Ghana is one of Sudan facing off. It's not just healthy enough for the ethics of the game. He must choose one and cut one. Not everything is legal and moral. Okay, thank you very much. Sika Togbo from Spintex. Okay, thank you very much for that message. There's another one here. This one says, I disagree with Sani Dara on the huge sums of money spent on the national team. Why in the name of God should we travel with so many officials and pay each of them 100,000 appearance fee? Well, Sani did not ever say that we should travel with appearance people and pay them $100,000. Let's clarify it here. He was talking about the investments that others are making, which can be a template or an example for us. So Otto and Abeka, respectfully, I am monitoring. I'm moderating the show, and I heard what he said. We all heard what he said. It has nothing to do with justifying amounts that have been given in previous times. He was talking about it with specific reference to investments. So let's make that one very clear. Okay, Kwesi Appiah to meet Ghana's Black Stars. That's all he says. And this is from Inko Joseph. Thank you very much, Inko Joseph, for that message. This is from Fred Amwa. He says, greetings to all the big boys in the studio. Very interesting takes on the Democracy Cup and its hopeful spin-off. But come to think of it, do we need a well-meaning speaker beyond promoting the obvious noble, objectives of democracy to give us and what and how lecture on football. What does that tell us about the stewardship of the game in Ghana? I loved Sunny's developmental take though. Okay, and then for the AFCON 2025 qualifiers, recent history will tell you that we are no more favorites in any game. We need Otto to get whatever resources he needs to get us there. Cheers. Thank you very much, Fred Amwa. Gentlemen, okay, we really are stretched, and we just need to take everybody's final thoughts on Ghana and navigating our way out of this group.
Well, I must look, Niger are playing well. They are physical, very strong, aggressive. If you know how Burkina Faso play, that's the way Niger plays. Very physical, very direct, very aggressive. The Sudan game is going to be a very tough game. There's a Kwesi Appiah involved. Not only that, but they are in a group that everybody touted Senegal or DRC to be leading the group, but they are the one leading the group with 10 points. Senegal is second. So that should tell you that, listen, this is a team that is playing very well. What their game that they play against DRC, their game against South Sudan, they won 3-0 away. They are playing very well. So we need to make sure we up our game. Ghana qualifying for AFCON tournament, listen, it shouldn't be an issue, but we need to work for it. We need to work for it, because today the game is not a game based on pedigree. It's a game based on excellent performance on the field of play. We can qualify, but we have to work for the qualification.
Sunny,
Yes.
what should the Black Stars focus on as we get into this crucial period?
I think preparation, rejigging the squad with more interesting players. Look at the positions that have caused a lot of problems, particularly the left and right backs. In the absence of some players, have caused some problems. I think that we should try to solve those problems, and then we move forward. Continue to invigorate the squad, keep the players on their toes. Players should never get comfortable that they are set members of the team. They should all be on their toes, so we can no prima donnas. Yes, I agree, and that will keep us on the path of qualification. I think we should take a lot of leave out of what is happening at the Euros now. We should have trust in young players too as well. We should give confidence to young people. There are lots of young people just waiting for the opportunity. Let's give more opportunities to such young people and give more confidence to them. They can take us places.
All right, Morris?
Yeah, just to add to what my two colleagues have said, we need to take each match very seriously. Beyond the Kwesi Appiah factor, Sudan have always been a very tough side. A team largely based on home-based players. They have very good clubs that play very well, even in cup competitions. And when you look at them, they have 100% record in their qualifiers. So, it's going to translate. And Kwesi Appiah has a lot, beyond the conflict of interest, he has a lot to prove, and he would want to go to the AFCON with a team. That's the aim of every coach. So he'll come, and then we've got to prepare very well. I listened to Otuado's analysis. He reckons that it's going to be a tough game. But as Sunny and my brother Jeff said, we shouldn't let anybody feel comfortable. There should be competition at every level. Competition at every level, because there's always a tendency of being complacent, and Otuado has to continue to be tough. And then the team learning each time, scouting, and hopefully with a lot more matches in this competition, it's going to translate into improved performance, and then we'll see it reflect at when the World Cup qualifiers start next year. But we can't afford to miss the AFCON, because it's part of the steps towards preparing for the World Cup.
Okay, so would give Sadiq Adams the final word on this one. What should the Black Stars focus on in the next minute so we wrap up?
Well, there are no easy games in Africa again, especially when we can clearly see how familiar all these teams are. Angola have been here, and it took a 94th minute goal to beat them. We couldn't beat them at their own backyard. A very strong side if we watch from the last AFCON. Niger have set up a camp in Kaswa. that I know, and they've been transporting young Ghanaian players. So they currently have around 3 or 4 players of Ghanaian descent in their team. And when you have such connection, it's always a tough game, regardless of how good the Ghanaian team is. And for Sudan, we already know how difficult it is to beat them. Now that they are moving back to the Juba Stadium in South Sudan for their AFCON and World Cup qualifiers, plus the Kwesi Appiah factor. So we just need to get a very competitive squad, and we've seen that under Otoado. The positives are coming back. The AFCON has qualification has become like a birthright. So I would want to see Sudan qualifying alongside Ghana, but it won't be easy.
Thank you so much. Sadiq Adams is the head of Angel Sports, joining Morris Kwanzaa, the editor of Graphic Sports, and also Mr. Jeffrey Asare, director of Primeval Media, and Mr. Ibrahim Sani Dara, who is a CAF media officer. This is how we wrap it up here this afternoon. The team joins very shortly. We're going to bring you some live commentary. And of course, tomorrow in the afternoon, we'll do some more analysis. Apologies for our inability to bring you the conversation on Formula One. We're going to do an analysis, a post-analysis of the race with Kwabena Poku, who's the president of the Motorsport Association of Ghana. That will be after the race on tomorrow's edition of Sports Arena right here on this dial. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you all so much. Thanks to the whole production team. I'll be back by God's grace next weekend to bring you another Joy Sports link. Have a wonderful weekend. My name is Nathaniel Attoh, and I have love for sport.